Hello, bookish friends. I've got my mug in one hand and a stack of books behind me, and I am so glad that you're here. Today, I get to introduce you to one of my favorite bookish people, Sara Ella. You are absolutely going to love her. Let's jump right in. Sara, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Astrida. I'm so happy to be here today.
This is so much fun. You are our first friend here on this bookshelf chat. Just hanging out with friends and talking good stories and just the gift that God has given us in creativity and story and books and all those things. But before we dive in, would you mind telling us where you're joining from and what your reading nook looks like? Because I'm seeing all the books and I'm loving it.
Yes, so I'm joining from Arizona. We haven't quite hit that cold weather yet, even though I do drink my hot drink in the morning. I've been drinking an iced peppermint this afternoon because we're still kind of getting up to the 70s, 80s during the day. And my reading nook is kind of all over the place. So I've got my bookshelf here behind me, but I have a reading chair over in the opposite corner from me. And then out in kind of our family room, we have a separate bookshelf, big chair area where our Christmas tree is currently put up. And I also like to read out there as well. So it was hard to choose which place to come from, but I thought I would show everybody my bookshelf.
Okay, yeah, because right behind you is Across the Glass Sea, which I have on my Kindle. I know you do a lot of fairy tale retellings, but what is it that drew your heart to this one for right now?
Every book is written in a different season, right? And so people will ask me, what's your favorite book you've ever written? And it's a really impossible question to answer because I couldn't have written this book at any other time in my life. It wouldn't be the same book. And so I always say my favorite book I ever written is the book I just wrote because it's fresh, it's new, it's just been completed, and that's such a good feeling. But for Glass Across the Sea, Cinderella really has always been a story that's very near and dear to my heart. While the book started off as a retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo, it developed over time into much more of a Cinderella story. And while Count is still in there, there's still nods to Count. Cinderella is such a story of resilience and hope in the face of adversity, in the face of impossible circumstances. And that has always been something that's really drawn me because that's our walk as believers. We are called to have hope and faith in the face of trials. And so that's really what has always drawn me to the Cinderella story and what inspired the premise for Glass Across the Sea.
I love that you bring that up. I don't think I would have connected the story of Cinderella with the Count of Monte Cristo, but I love the way that you kind of weave those retellings, and I know they're marketed for YA, right?
Yes,
Are
yes,
they?
they are for young adult, and I would say 12 and up. A lot of my
Okay.
readers are much younger because they read up, but it is very sweet and clean, and I always write with my own daughters in mind.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I mean, I read it too, and I'm nowhere near 12. But I've enjoyed reading your retellings as well. And my daughter just turned 12, so I have the Wonderland Trials that I gave to her this fall. I was like, okay, now you can read it, and I'm excited to share Across the Glass Sea with her as well. We're recording this right around mid-November. And we're both doing a thing, but I think we're doing it differently. So
Mhm,
it used to be NaNoWriMo, National Novel
mhm,
Writing Month. That is now Novel November, which is a
mhm.
challenge to write 50,000 words in a month. I am taking that challenge a little bit differently. I'm working on a middle grade novel, which will be the second in a series I can't talk about right now, but it's not going to be 50,000 words because that's not even the target for my book. So
Mhm.
that's kind of a relief to not even have to think about word count. I'm just trying to show up every day and write the story. And I get to write for my own children. And so I'll sneak downstairs in the morning, I'll write my chapter, and then we gather together for a homeschool morning basket time. And I read the chapter I just wrote. And so it's so fun to get to read for them what I wrote. You are doing something similar but different.
Mhm.
And I saw it on your Substack, Write by Candlelight, writing in community, but not keeping track of the words. Is this right?
Yes, yes. It's something that just kind of hit me as November neared. Also homeschool and I have young kids and teens. And so, when you're a busy mom and you're a writer and you're doing all the things, it's really hard to find time to write. I have always loved the community aspect of National Novel Writing Month, but I've always kind of felt like I'm behind because I don't write quickly. And writing
Mm.
50,000 words in a month is quite the task. And I'm amazed
It's a
at the
lot.
many writers who are able to do it. I am not one of them. And so I was thinking of the writers like me who want that community aspect, who want to know that they are still making progress on their novel, but without that word count goal in mind, that any type of progress is progress if you're choosing your story every day. And so that is where No Word Count November came from. This was really more for the writer who wants to choose their story, who wants to take November to write, but without that pressure of hitting a certain word count target.
I love that. I love that. Okay, I promised myself that I try to keep these chats to 10 minutes. So I don't become one of those people who says just one quick question and then I keep you hostage for an hour.
Oh, you're all day.
I know. So we actually have met in person. We got to hang out just a few months ago at Realm Makers, and it was so delightful to do that in person. I'm curious if we peeked at your bookshelf right now, whether it's the one behind you or I don't know, books on your nightstand, what would be the most surprising book that we would find there?
Oh my goodness. I think people are always surprised at how much I love to read a good contemporary romance because I write fantasy, because I spend so much time in dystopian or sci-fi or fantasy worlds. I find that when people say, "What are you reading?" and I'll say something like, "Oh, I'm reading a Denise Hunter book," or "I'm reading a Casey West book." They're surprised by that because I write fantasy, but sweet contemporary romance really is my kind of brain break from those fantasy worlds. And so I suppose that might be the most, that seems to be what surprises people most because I'm constantly writing fantasy.
That makes so much sense. I read so widely, so many different genres, and I read books that I wouldn't recommend for other people either, like just either because it's research or because I'm trying to understand a certain part of what's happening in our like wider literature world right now. So
Mhm.
I didn't even know how I would answer that question, but you did such a good job with it. Great job, great job. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining. This was such a delight. And I just love that we got to peek into your little corner of the world today, your bookshelf, a little bit about your heart for this book. And I know our readers are going to be absolutely in love with the story and the characters. And I'm especially excited because we're giving away a copy. And I don't know, there's so many books on my shelf right now that I still have not read, but there's always room for one more. Are you this way too? Like,
Yeah, I've tried to condense because I have such little bookshelf space now, and so I try to
mm,
be really choosy about the physical books I buy, but I'm still doing it anyway. I'm still buying physical books, even though I have so many on my shelf I haven't read yet.
yeah. And your publisher, Enclave, does a phenomenal job with the covers, with the treatment, with kind of what's underneath the jacket of the books. So this is one readers are going to want on your physical bookshelf. And if your TBR pile is whispering like, we have room for one more, we need another magical adventure, here's how you can enter to win the giveaway. Just leave a comment on this post and let us know one book that you've enjoyed this past month. That's one of the things we want to do in these bookshelf chats in this community is share good books and good stories with one another. And if you want an extra entry or actually limitless extra entries, you can just share this video, share this letter, the Ashrita's Bookshelf Substack letter, with a book loving friend. Tag them. If they're on Substack, you can tag them in an extra comment, and each tag will count as another entry. Sara Ella, you are also on Substack, so readers, you can find her there, but you're also on Instagram. It's Sara Ella Writes, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Sara Ella writes over on Instagram and on Substack as well.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us for this very first bookshelf chat. And readers, I am so excited. I can't wait to do it again next month. Until then, grab a cozy mug and a good book, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.